Hey, what's going on everyone? Craig here from Soundiron, and in today's walkthrough we're going to be checking out our newest library, Noah Kelly's Sonic Circus. This library is a treasure chest of strange and unconventional tuned percussion, perfect for comedy, circus, or festival theme music, or anything that just requires an unconventional touch. This carnival of oddities is the brainchild of UK-based musical entertainer Noah Kelly, and was recorded, produced, and engineered by percussionist David Oliver, who you know we've worked with on libraries like Rhythmic Odyssey, Rhythmic Origins, David Oliver's Drum Kit, and Shake. So let's dive in and start playing through some of the sounds, some of the ambiances, custom effects presets, and going over some of the features of this library. So let's dive in. So as I mentioned earlier, Noah Kelly Sonic Circus is perfect for any type of music that requires a zany percussive touch. So if you're doing comedy or even just anything that just has like a big carnival type sound, or just anything that has that sort of festive type of theme, this library is great for that. And it has a lot of really unique instruments like bottle phones, hornophones, a kid's glockenspiel, which is actually his kid's glockenspiel that he recorded for this library, a whole set of tuned cowbells, which is really cool. It's different than our Oops All Cowbell library because you can play these in a very chromatic way, and it's pretty interesting to have because it's, you know, you can just have like a regular cowbell, but I think having a tuned set of them is really interesting. And there's also some other stuff in here, like some pipe machines and things like that. So let's just go ahead and dive in. We're gonna play the bottle phone now so you can get a little bit of an idea of some of these sounds. And with this instrument, it was recorded dry, but you can hear a little bit of the reverb that we have turned on. So if we turn this off, you can hear that really dry sound. But if you want to use the built-in reverb that we have set up for you, you can do that. You can adjust this or even just use your own. So now let's have a listen to the hornophone. This is the dry recorded version of it. And these are a set of taxi horns. So it's perfect for anything that just has that, needs a little bit of that comedic edge. So let's check these out. I can hear the clowns now. And then some of these instruments were recorded not only dry, but in a large church hall. So let's have a listen to the hornophone again, but recorded with the far mics. And I really love the space of this, of the recording. It really has a very nice depth to it, I think. And you can layer this up with the dry and blend it and get a little bit of your own mix if you want to do that. And then we have a hornophone bulb, and this is one sample in the middle, but then you can have it spread across the key range. Now let's have a listen to the kid's glockenspiel. This is recorded in a specific range because there's only so many notes in a kid's glockenspiel, but we have it stretched all the way down so you can play all the way down if you want. All right, so let's check out the pipe machine, and this is a tuned tubular contraption of tangled plastic pipeworks, and this comes with some pops, and it also comes with longs. Almost sounds like a duck. And then there's also short versions as well. All right, so now it's time to check out everyone's favorite instrument, the cowbell. And like I said, this is a tuned set of cowbells, which is really cool because you don't just have just one sound with multiple dynamics. You have these, a whole set of tuned cowbells, which is really cool. So if you have a track that even just requires a single cowbell hit, but it's in a certain key, this is great for that because depending on whatever key it is, you'll have a cowbell that's pitched to that note or tuned to that note, and you can use it without having to worry about it not being within the key of your song, so which is cool. So these are the close mic'd versions of the tuned cowbells. And then we have the far mics of the tuned cowbells. You really hear the depth of the room. That's what I love about these. Can't play that fast. You can play these all the way down if you want, but they're going to be pitched and stretched, so just keep that in mind. For Noah Kelly Sonic Circus, we also included 20 atmospheric pads, soundscapes, and drones for you to use, created from the source to really give you another layer of sounds to create with this library. And these are great even if you're just wanting to set a mood, or just, you know, if you don't want to use any of the tuned percussion stuff and you just want to just really craft a whole vibe with just these ambiances, you can do that. So let's play through a few of these. And I really love how moody some of these ambiances are. They're really great for just, you know, creating like a really gentle mood and just being a little bit more, not too abrasive. And one of my favorite things to do with the ambiances that come with our libraries is using the X fade, or just using the different layers to layer some of these ambiances together. And you can really create some unique textures, and being able to fade into different ones really creates that endless, ever-evolving type of soundscape. So if we were to use this one right here that has this very mellow, almost sounds like space birds in the background. And then if we go over to layer 2, turn this on, let's find our ambiences, and I'm going to turn this off and let's find another ambience. So this has a little bit of a lower tone to it. So I'm going to set this to layer B, and then I'm going to keep this one to none, so that way it's always playing. And this is going to talk to the X fade right here. I'm going to learn this to my mod wheel. So when it comes to the X fade, A is going to be layer A. So if you have layer 1 on layer A, and then you have layer 2 on layer B, it's going to fade from one layer into the other. So if you have it set to none, that means it's always going to be playing. So let's have a listen to this. So I'm just going to go from only hearing layer 1 and then fading in layer 2, but layer 1's always going to play. So you got that really mellow kind of spacey bird sound that we're going to bring in layer 2. And then if you want to take it even further, you can go into layer 3. Let's turn this on, and let's load up a sub-synth sustain, and this is going to be the sine wave. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch this down an octave, just because I always like doing that, just to make sure that it's always going to be in a lower range depending where I'm playing on the keyboard. So if I just play this single note, and then you can use these different sound shaping controls down here if you want to play around with it like we did with the pitch. So if you want to make the sine wave kind of swell in a little bit more, you can do that. Or if you want to do something that I like to do, which is use the staccatos, set this to sine, and then what I'll do is I'll go up here to the options, and you can turn on the arpeggiator. Get a little bit of like a pulsey sound to it. Let's find a different preset. I'm going to bring the attack down. So that's just using 3 different layers, and what I love about this layer system is that it allows you to really get a lot out of just one NKI. So you can either have these on separate tracks, or you can just blend stuff together and just have everything kind of working together in real time, which is really cool. All right, so before we wrap up this walkthrough, I want to play for you some of the custom effects presets that we created for this library. There's 20 to choose from, and these are great kicking off points if you just want to get inspired and get a little bit familiar with the library and see some of the things that you can do with some of the features and the way that we set these up to be inspiring. So let's check out some of these. So this next preset, you can see that it's got the space tab open up, and what's really cool about this is that you can pan each layer across the soundstage. So if you have any of these layers, if you have certain sounds that you want, if you are creating your own custom effects presets, or any presets that you want to use for a later time, you can, whatever you have loaded in any of these layers, you can pan them anywhere you want on the soundstage, which is really cool. So this next one is called Lovely Plucks. Alright, so that about wraps up this walkthrough for Noah Kelly's Sonic Circus. If you want to learn more about this library or any of the other libraries that we've done with David Oliver, make sure to head over to soundiron.com. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on new products, cool videos, or anything else that we got going on. So until then, we'll see you in the next one, and bye-bye.